Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode and also the final episode of season 7, Love is Blind. And as always, this season, I am joined by Nana. Hi, Nana. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I am ready to wrap this up, according to Nick
Yes.
Lachey and Vanessa Lachey and their stupid dad jokes that
I was about
didn't
to wink
land.
and say, "Ooh, we're on the final episode. I'm happy," but then I don't want you to take offense because I like recording with you, obviously. But I'm happy to see the back of this bunch. I can't lie to you.
I just, okay, by what you just said, I'm going to infer that you're on the same page as I am. As, first of all, this whole reunion to me was a waste of time. And it's just also a precursor to the bigger question, what the hell are they doing to this show? Like, this show was a juggernaut. It still is, don't get me wrong, but it's losing something. I don't, is it the people?
I have. Hmm, I think shows like this aren't sustainable. It's the same way, I don't watch maths anymore, but I hear the chatter. I just feel like once you get past two, three seasons, people know the formula. The majority of people are only there to be famous, I think. And if they find love, that's a bonus, but that's not the primary reason they're on there. And we, the audience, can tell because we're not stupid. I think that's a real issue. I think shows like these have a shelf life.
But this is my question. If we as an audience can tell within 5 minutes that some people are here just to be famous,
Hmm.
why can't the casting people tell? Or do you think they can tell, but they're like, it doesn't matter. The
The
drama is what
latter,
we're going for.
the latter.
Okay.
The more people that talk about it, bigger advertising money for them now that Netflix is forcing us to watch ads. People still talked about this season a lot. They don't care.
Yeah, that's true. And then the other part of it is like I also feel it's unfair. Like we're bitching and bitching, but then there are the Taylor and Garretts that are there. There's the Zach and Bliss that are there. So it's like, is it unfair or is it a case of you focus more on the negative, but the successes are yes, lower, but they're still there. And the
You
statistics are kind of like real life, you know?
Yeah, I was actually about to say that I know people say Love is Blind is unsuccessful, but I'm with you. I actually think it's been very successful. Um,
Yeah.
Considering how many people have ended up married over all the seasons, it's a way higher number, and they're still married, and most of them, way higher
Yeah.
number than I would expect. So I don't think it's a failure in that aspect, but I do think they're about an entertainment show first and foremost. I feel like everything else, the conceit of the show, they don't really care.
And I want to correct that. I don't think it's unsuccessful. I think for me, it's just the people. Like, I
Mm,
think I'm finding them more. I don't know if unlikable is a word. I don't think anything can beat the season that had whatever
the
season
Houston
Shake was
one.
on.
Oh, really?
Yes, to
The
me, that
Houston
was.
one's the only season that I didn't even finish because I'm like, these are the worst people I've ever seen.
Who
Yeah,
was in
that's the only
Houston
season I
again?
didn't finish. That was the one where the two people are dated already and she didn't tell the girl Uche.
Oh, and they had Uche
Yeah.
and all that. Okay. Man, I really didn't like the Shake season. They're like,
Shaken.
but that's
Oh yeah, that
progressively.
that season I think was the start of the downfall because we had what Shayna, Shane, Natalie, Deep T. Who else was on that? Was that
Yeah.
Jarrett and Iana as well, right? And
Yes.
Natalie, yes.
Yes.
Chicago.
And
That's
all
it.
that. Yes. Yeah,
Hmm.
so I think that's where it is. Not that it's unsuccessful, but it's just the people like this season. Anyways, it is what it is. I'm here bitching. Next season's gonna come out as we found out on the 14th. I'm gonna be right there, front and center. So, this is moot.
We'll see.
All
It's Minneapolis,
right.
right?
Yes.
They better have at least two Ethiopians, otherwise it's not authentic.
Ha ha. I
And an
mean, I'm not gonna
Eritrean.
lie to you. I wasn't feeling
The three
inspired by the three
people.
people. I'm just like, is this
I'm
I don't get
laughing.
the charisma. Now, then I'm like, okay, did these three people make it forward, or they were just in the pods because,
Yeah.
hmm,
I wasn't trying to be mean, but yeah, they did not inspire me either. I was just like, huh,
hmm,
okay, cool. Maybe we'll be
all
proven
right,
wrong. We'll see.
girl, we'll see. All right, so we start with the people who were present. So all the couples, Taylor and Garrett, Ashley and Tyler. I could have sworn I heard people booing when they said Ashley and Tyler, but then for certain people, Steven, Tim, Hannah, I didn't hear boo, so I'm like, why would they boo Tyler and not boo the rest? I'm not sure. But Marissa was there, Ramses was there, Hannah, Nick, Steven, Monica, and Alex and Tim. Overall, I think they all look good. I think Marissa was the best dressed to me.
I'm trying to remember what everyone was wearing. I remember being distracted by Ashley's shoulders because it looked like she had giant spiders perched on her shoulders. So I don't
They were
understand.
tarantulas.
Oh yeah, I was just like, what's going on? Alex's outfit was cool, if a bit booby. Yeah, Marissa looked lovely. She did. I'm trying to remember what Hannah's outfit was.
It was a two-piece, like a corset type red
Oh yeah,
thing. At first
yeah.
glance, it looks like a dress, but it was that. I think
No,
Alex's
actually, I
dress
like
was
Taylor's outfit the best. Yeah,
Taylor.
she had that
Yeah,
sculptural gold
yeah,
bodice.
the
Yeah, the metal
breastplate
look.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was nice. I think Alex looked nice. I think Alex forgot that sometimes when you go for TV, you have to consider when you're sitting down. And
yeah.
either that, she need to have done what Monica did. Monica
Hmm.
was kind of like laying back, not
Yes.
sitting up, for that. And I
Hmm.
think Alex's dress just kind of, I think it folded in, and all I
Hmm.
wanted to do was just, whoop, just get it out. And I was like, no one
My
could have
issue
told
was
her, but
the skin tone part of her dress didn't match her skin, and that always bothers
yeah,
me. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so they were there. Speaking of the fashions, I don't know what Ramses was wearing, but do you boo? It was a lot of pish posh mixed pot of a lot of things, and the same could be said for Garrett, if I'm being honest. Like, I understand he has a quote unquote glow up, but I guess he was going editorial. Is that what they're? Is that
You're
the
being
look he was?
nice. I thought he looked terrible. I was like, Taylor, you're gonna let your husband out the house like that. Do you know the thing, the sad things? I could see what he was going for, but I think
Hmm.
with fashion and style, some people have it and some don't. And he looked like the clothes were wearing him. That he wasn't wearing the clothes.
Mm.
Like I hated Ramsey's outfit, but he was rocking it. Do you know what I mean?
It was
He
his,
didn't look
yes.
uncomfortable in it.
It's his style. Yes.
Yes. And Garrett, it just looked like he stood there while someone dressed him up like a doll. And already
Yeah, like,
I'm like, you're not a fashionista. It's just not ringing true to me. I'm sorry.
well,
Yeah, I
he
was not
did
feeling
say
it.
he has a latent interest in
Yeah.
fashion.
You
So,
need
yeah.
to stay later, maybe. But anyway, let me be nice. Sorry.
But the worst part was Vanessa's dress. I cannot for the life of me understand celebrities that have money, celebrities that have access to a stylist, and I'm like, this is the best. No one's saying that you have to come out dressed for the gods, dressed to the nines. It could be something simple, but at least something flattering and nice. But this dress was not it at all.
I honestly can't even remember what she was wearing. I don't think I paid any attention to what she looked like.
It was
What
like
was she wearing?
a maroon long dress. I think there were sequins. The top looked like it had like a tuxedo type thing.
Hmm.
I don't know how you missed that. It was so
No,
jarring to
I
me.
have to go back and look. Maybe I can even see it online as we talk. Yes. No, yeah,
So,
but I didn't notice. Sorry.
so then we had other former participants, and they called them VIP members. We had some family members in the audience. Most notably, we had AD and Marshall, we had Nancy, and we had Zach and Bliss. So Vanessa starts with the married couples, congratulates them, and teases them that they were both wearing gold and black. And Taylor says that they always do that and they don't even plan it and stuff like that. So she asks how things are going, and Taylor says that Garrett makes her feel loved and comfortable, and he shows up for her every day, and he's her best friend. And the dad jokes began, and they were killing me. They talk about Garrett's look. Nick says, "Is this Taylor's version?" And did Taylor fill a blank space? And Vanessa says, "This is Garrett's glow up era." For those who don't get it, these are all like Taylor Swift songs, and I'm just, I mean, but Taylor found it so funny. Like, genuinely, she found it funny and was really cracking up. So I'm like, well, I mean, it works for something. And you guys, every season, everyone makes a whole deal about Vanessa and Nick should be removed as hosts and stuff. Are they the best hosts? No. They're not really good at this. Their main job is boy bander and acting, and Vanessa was a host at some point, but she's just not flourishing here. But is it to the point where I think, oh, they should be chucked out and replaced? No, because there is something to the familiarity of having people on a show since the inception.
Yes. My only issue with them, I actually don't think they're bad hosts. They just never ask the questions that they should. And then they always cut things off when they get interesting. And things that they should cut off, they let go on too long. And was it last season when Vanessa came on clearly with some pep in her step and kicked off that guy who had that fake girlfriend, the one with the mullet?
And Trevor.
Oh, Trevor, that's it. Yes. Yeah, and it's like she came on with like, "Oh, you guys think we don't ask the right questions? Watch me do it," and it just came off as so cringy to me. But yeah, I do think they could do better, but I don't think they're as awful as people make it out to be. But I get the vibe that the tone of the reunion isn't up to them.
Exactly. So that's what I was gonna say. I think the only difference is I do think they're awful, but I don't think it and they also okay, some people are just naturally good hosts, so they
Hmm.
could also go with the tone of what the producers want, but also kind of fill it in with their talent. But because they don't have that natural adeptness to hosting the show, combined with whatever vibe they seem to be wanting for the reunion of the show, it's not a good mix. Because that's my other critique of the reunion. I'm so used to the Housewives kind of reunion that anytime I watch a reunion that doesn't go deep and doesn't ask all the questions and seems afraid to, call out people, show the receipts and things like that, I consider it a failure. But I'm gathering that Love is Blind wants a sanitized version
Hmm.
of a reunion, which to me, there's no point. A reunion, I've been trained by Bravo, is to get into the nitty gritty, answer all questions, get, closure to a whole bunch of things, and there has to be some kind of equity. You can't ask Tyler two questions, Ramses three questions, and then go to the least charismatic couple that I don't even care about, Hannah and Nick, and then ask them 20,000 questions. What is that?
Yeah, they really let that play. And we know they record for like 4 or 5 hours, right? So they only show
Yeah.
us a little bit, and apparently they cut a lot of like the other stuff. But that's what people say every year, and I'm always like, but they don't force words into your mouth, so that's
Yeah.
not an excuse to me. I'm sorry. You could have sat there
Yeah.
mute like Ramses and skated by. So
Yep. So that's what I think. I think they just need to decide on the tone of what they want the reunion to be, and then maybe it'll be better. But they're just
hmm.
not able to find the balance of how to host it while keeping to the tone that they want. So they talk about taking Taylor fishing. They share pictures, and apparently he's gone fishing with Tim and Tyler as well. They move on to Ashley and Tyler, just like you predicted. They're still together. They've been married almost a year. Vanessa talks about, oh, being in a bubble, enjoying everything without all the outside noise, yada, yada, yada. And she
Mm.
brings up the sperm donation thing. And we see Marshall nudging AD in his facial expressions. And the whole time, Ashley's hand is on Tyler. And I don't know what Tyler's saying. Tyler's saying that the kids and their family did not sign up for this, so
You
he
didn't
tries
say
to
he
keep
didn't say
things
the
from
family chain.
happening.
He said that family, please.
Oh, oh, my
That
bad.
family,
The
yes.
kids and that family did not
Mhm.
like separation. Like, no, 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 not included. Did not sign up for this. So he tries to keep things from happening. And now their birth certificate is online. I'm like, huh? What does that mean? We see Ashley's mom is there. He says he did help a friend and her wife left her high and dry, and he stepped in voluntarily and helped, and he spends Christmas with his friends and other friends and their kids. So of course he played a part when it became very shaky with a friend. And he says Ashley knows all this. It's news to the world, but not to her. And he's given an explanation because he feels like the world is waiting for it, but he owes no one an explanation except to his wife. And, of course, the tears come on, and then he starts tearing up, and people start applauding. And the whole time, Ashley's nodding and swaying. He says, "We're good, and I'm not going to keep harping on it." And Ashley says, "People keep saying that, I keep saying it's all good, but I have a lot of things to say today. Who has more insights, social media or me?" And everyone's saying that I'm blindsided, but I wasn't. And this is something that he never wanted to share on camera, but I just felt like it would not be an authentic experience if it didn't come up. And I'm like, wait, wait, wait. I don't. What is even worse? How can you even use the word authentic? Because what I'm hearing is you knew all this and you just brought it up so it will be mentioned, but oh God. She says, for example, when I asked if they knew what he looked like, and he says, I don't know. And Vanessa chimes in and is like, "Oh, what you're trying to say is that you'd spoken off camera, but the thing is that we weren't there for a couple of things that we'll get to later. Hey, Steven." I'm like, uh-huh. What? I just So Ashley continues and is like, "Something that I know about Tyler is that Tyler's such a good guy, and it would have been so hard for him to remove himself, not get involved. And when I say I said I do to all of it. This is a once in a lifetime kind of love that is a rarity." And Vanessa is like, "Oh, watching you guys gave me all the feels." And I'm like, "Surely we're not done. Like, like surely we are not done, because what in the hell did I just hear, and what is happening right now?"
You see, last week when I called Ashley a dummy, I think I was even being too kind. Sorry, because what? So they sat there and gave that rehearsed ass speech, and I was just like, "Do you actually think we're fools? We can see you guys rehearse this to try and make it like palatable. Like, oh, you knew. Maybe she did know, which also makes her worse. She's the biggest bird ever. I'm sorry. She's one of those women that, as long as my man treats me fine, she doesn't care how he treats anyone else. And it's always the case until they turn it on you, and then you're gonna be doing a Pikachu face, shocked that, oh my gosh, I didn't know he had it in him. Like, that's the kind of thinking I probably had when I was like 19. It's like, oh, well, he's really nice to me. So it doesn't matter if he's mean to other people. You're 30, what, 32, 33. Should have grown up by
Hmm.
now. She's such a
Yeah.
bird. And this is like proof that personality matters, because the more she spoke, the more unattractive she became to me. And she's a gorgeous, gorgeous woman. But the more she spoke, I was like, get them both off my screen. It was just
Yeah.
the attitude of it. And I was just like, how ugly. And you guys basically set up this whole thing to try and make yourself look better. You know what you're doing. Oh my God.
Yeah. I just feel like in some way maybe Netflix has to protect their background check failure, because a million and one questions could have been asked. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna, gloss over the whole lying on camera, bringing it up, because I think that answers our question when she told the girls that he has kids and there wasn't really a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that. But the question is, how about Tyler's fiance? How about the fiance he took to the baby shower, not knowing that she was going
Yep.
to the baby shower of babies that he fathered? How
Yep.
about the mother saying that the twins were conceived naturally afterwards? How about the
Yes.
money that he owes? How about all the,
Tayne,
like,
he has a court
where?
date in like 2 weeks. He has a court date
Yeah.
this month. Like, what? Oh my
So where
God.
was all of that? And if you wanted to keep that off camera and you're saying you wanted it to be authentic and bring it up, don't do that because then it's not authentic. You're just throwing it out there so nobody, when the backlash comes, no one
Mhm.
says that, oh, we didn't even mention that or didn't talk about it. I think it would have been almost better if they didn't mention it at all, but when it came out, you're like, oh, we knew about it, but we didn't want to bring it up on camera at all because if you're really trying to protect them, why come on and then blatantly lie? I
Thank
just
you.
it's kind of
And my
crazy.
thing is, you should just never have been on the show. How about that?
Yeah.
Because you're on the show, Love is Blind, and I'm not saying having a kid precludes you from being on the show. Because what's her name? We had that one
Jessica.
woman, yeah, Jessica, with a child, which I'm not really a huge fan of people with children going on shows like this, just for safety issues for their children. Because this person is still a complete stranger. Do you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
my thing is, your whole storyline when you came on, you were harping on about how you can't wait to have babies with her, and you made it sound like it would be your first child. So it just makes us, the audience, feel like you're taking us for fools, which is exactly what they were doing. You lied and you
Yeah.
got caught out, and now you're trying to spin it to make it seem like we're being nosy and in your business when you voluntarily put yourself on TV for us to
Yep.
discuss your love life. Like, what?
Yeah.
uh,
And that's what I mean by I think the route they want to go is sanitized, but I don't think that's fair to us. Like to your point, like don't take us for idiots, guys. Like decide
mhm.
what you want to do. So she asks, well, to answer the question, yes, that was it. That was all the grilling because I really wanted to see what he had to say for himself, and I should have known better. Um,
So
Vanessa
that
asked,
one
"What is the?"
tear he dropped pissed me off so bad. Oh my god.
I mean, it was expected.
Yes.
Vanessa asked the best thing about being married to him, and she said he's her calmest love. And Tyler says for him, it's unconditional love that she sticks by him. They've been through things, and he's never experienced it, and that's it. And they ask her mom what she's learned, like how she feels watching her son-in-law and her daughter, and she's like, oh, she's actually learning from them. And Vanessa's like, what have you learned? She's like, just their communication, their open communication and all that stuff. So she's gonna just continue learning from them. And I respect my elders. I'm not gonna say anything, but good luck to all involved. Good luck to all involved. As a sidebar, this is not on the show or anything, but Ashley's dad did do some kind of video saying like he found out October 1st about the whole Tyler thing. Like he's not really on social media except for his videos. But I think the most interesting thing to me was that he wasn't in her life because he was in jail. I think he was in
Yes.
jail for 14 years.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a huge thing. I guess I don't know if they discussed that in the pod because I don't remember.
No,
He might have
they
brought it up,
didn't.
but
I
yeah.
didn't watch his video, but I saw someone else talking about it and how he was saying he didn't like people calling him a deadbeat because he still sent child support money even when he was in jail.
That's funny.
Sorry.
So Nick tried to introduce the VIP members, and he actually says he introduces AD, and his descriptor is like she's one of his favorite people. I don't think I knew that, but was that surprising to you?
Y- Eight. Okay, I'm trying to be nice. Yes, it was surprising to me. Very surprising because I didn't get that impression. But maybe they've, struck up a bond after the show.
But that's the thing. There's some shows where you think like, oh, the host and the talent or whatever, they connect afterwards or whatever. I don't think, and I could be wrong. This is all me speculating. The Lachey's ever bond with anyone after the season?
No, I don't even
I
think they
just
bond with
feel
them during the season. Like, let's
because
be
I'm
real.
just like, when they crack the jokes like, oh, why am I not invited? Why am I not whatever? And then sometimes you can tell when people really like shows like The Challenge. I know the people that TJ likes. Like you can always tell who they were. But with the Lachey's, because they follow the script to a T, there's just not that thing. So when he said the AD thing, that's what was surprising to me because I just see that they see it as a job and it's like, are we clocked in? We're done. Okay, I'm out. Back to home we go.
And good
So
for
she
them,
said,
honestly.
yeah, probably best.
Yeah.
Um, AD says she's happy and thriving and she's off the roller coaster, I'm guessing of Clay. And they ask her if she's single. She makes a whole to do about it. Yeah, nah, maybe by myself with someone. She says she's having a good time with someone, but she's keeping it private. But I mean, the internet streets are saying allegedly it's Ollie from Love is
Yeah.
Blind UK. But she has to keep it on the low because Perfect Match hasn't aired and allegedly she's on the show. That's where they met. And
Mm.
I'm always wary of this cross continental relationships because I'm like, how sustainable is it, guys? But
As you should be wary. It's ridiculous. Like, when I first moved here, I made that mistake thinking I could keep relationships going. No.
uh,
And, and that wasn't even with someone I met on TV. So, yeah.
and that's the thing with AD. AD came with the story of, oh, I'm never picked, I'm never chosen, but look at the people that you pick. Again, maybe don't judge, maybe people actually change, but you can't pick people who give yellow flags. I don't want to
Hmm.
say red because I don't know this man from Adam, but between Clay and between Ollie, who's gonna meet them and be like, oh yeah, you're in it for the long haul? No.
Is she going to
So
move to South London? No. Like, please be for real. And
it
also,
doesn't matter, Nana. She has the bunda.
I know that he was looking for. So I just found that whole. That's another thing I should have probably mentioned at the top of the episode. I really hate about the Love Is Blind reunions. I actually don't care about any of the past cast members, especially when AD. I'm just like, so why are you talking if you're not going to tell us anything? You're just being weirdly coy and doing that baby voice. I was just like, okay, you're just taking up time that could have been spent flogging Tyler or Ramses. I didn't care
Okay.
about any of the other people. I'm being very honest with you.
And this is the last time I'm gonna say it, guys. This is why I said like, what needs an overhaul besides maybe the casting or anything, is the reunion tone. Like they just need to change the whole production of it. Like who asked for past members? If you want to do a past members, do a where are they now?
Yep.
I mean, that's so simple. Where are they now? Oh, I do well. I do this. Have a party. Get all the seasons together. Love is Blind Brazil did like an after the altar type thing, but they didn't do
Hmm.
it for one season. They got people from a whole bunch of seasons. We got to see a couple who got married after the pods, but then they separated, and then she ended up marrying the second person that was the second on her list on the pod,
Whoa.
and they had a child together. And then we got to see people who separated, but it was still kind of friendly. Then people who became like brother and sister. But that's an idea. Like explore all these things, but
Hmm.
not at the reunion where you're taking away time from. I mean, yes, they're all trying to be famous or anything, but I'm with them where give them all the attention because it is their season. Those people's seasons are gone.
Thank you. And it's a streaming
So
show. They can control how many episodes they want to give us. Like, they don't have to
yeah,
answer to anyone, which is why I
yeah,
don't understand what we're doing here. So, yeah.
yeah. Okay. So we move on to Marissa and Ramses. I already said Marissa looked so gorgeous, and her mama looked mad as hell. She was just shaking her feet, and she was just ready. So they play they talk about the breakup and all that, and Marissa is tearing up, and she said it was very hard to relive, and you have to know that it hurt because remember this is a year later, and to still have such strong feelings, you can tell that Marissa's heart was really truly broken. At this point, Ramses is already tearing up, and he says it was difficult. He did not come here to hurt anyone. And Nick was like, okay, you guys seem so cool. Everything seemed fine. What exactly derailed it for you? He just said towards the end, he noticed that their energies didn't match, and if they move forward every day, he would feel exhausted and overwhelmed. Oh, God. I
Sometimes you
cringed.
can't be too honest. Like, come on.
No, you've had a year to think about it. Don't use those
Yes.
words. Oh my gosh. You could have just said, I just felt like we're incompatible, and over the years,
Mhm.
like our personalities would not have melded
Mhm.
as well as I thought that it would. But to say I would feel exhausted and overwhelmed, oh dear God. So he says he doesn't want to change her, and she deserves someone who would love and embrace her fully. They go to her mom, and she says it's the first time she's seen him. Well, except for the night he broke her heart, and she went over there to ask him, what the hell was going on. She does say that she's thankful he called it off, that he did the right thing. But he should have done it as soon as he had the first doubt instead of reassuring her every time. And he really broke her and that she was devastated and he got to walk away. I know
That's a good
what
point.
you think. Yeah, I know. Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I know what you think of Marissa's mom, but
Oh no,
how
she's
did you
my
feel about
fave
all
now, by
this?
the way, Tayne. After this
Ah!
reunion. Oh please, we're besties in my head now. This is how much everyone pissed me off on that reunion. I left liking all the people I hated and hating all the people I like. So yeah, we're besties in my head now. She was one of the
Okay.
MVPs of the reunion.
Yes. So yeah, she was in full mama bear mode over here. Ramses was like, "Yes, you're correct." And he was saying like, "I just didn't think that, all the things that he said. I just didn't think that it would work. I didn't want it to and I should have said that." And Marissa was like, "Do you hear yourself? You've been saying I didn't have a say in any of that." And I was like,
What
"It's just
say?
tough." Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, where would you have had to say, like, again, we're still on I think the convincing part. Like, she would have had to say, no, don't worry, we could have done it, but his mind was made up. I think, yes, the mom was right. What he should have done was say, I had doubts, not because she asked him continuously, are you
Hmm.
feeling good? Are you feeling good? And he kept saying yes. So there really wouldn't have been a time where he had to say. And then Nick, I don't know, jumped in. Nick, like the host, Lachey, was like, Marissa, you're beautiful. Your energy is beautiful. I was expecting Vanessa to give him dagger eyes because she seems like the possessive type. I don't know. And she's like, your energy is beautiful. And I just want you, I'm not saying it as a slight to Ramses, but I just want you to know, like, don't take it personally. Don't do this. Like, it just didn't work out. I mean, I guess that's nice, but
I get why he said it because, like he just said, Ramses expressed why it didn't work out in the worst possible way. But say
yeah,
should have been exhausting. So I think he was just trying to bolster her up because Ramses doesn't know how to use his words carefully. Because I think we all understand what Ramses is trying to say, but it's just not coming
mm-hmm,
out well. And also, I'm sorry, but getting married is not one of those things that you come to. I feel like it's not a dinner reservation that you agree on where you're going. If one person
yeah,
doesn't want to do it, there's no negotiating. Like
yep.
it's just not good. It's like having a child, right? You can't like, oh, maybe you're either in or you're out. I don't know. It's just so
And
as soon as he didn't want to marry you, you can't convince him. That's all. He should have done it earlier, like her mom said. But at the end of the day, would she rather have him married her and then them get divorced like a year later? I don't
yeah,
know.
and I don't think what Nick said was wrong. I think for me it was more like it didn't ring true. But in general, Nick Lachey is stiff, so maybe it was just that the
Do you
way
think
that it read
he's
out.
had filler?
Oh, I can never tell cosmetic procedures.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just so bad unless it's like super obvious. I'm
Yeah.
just like the worst, and I can never
That's
tell.
true actually,
My
because I'm
friend,
always like, oh, they've had this done and this done, and you're like, I can't tell, and I'll be sending you
I can't
before
tell.
pictures of
Yeah.
everyone. I
So
work in the
like Ellie,
cosmetics industry, guys, for a long time, so that's all I look at. I'm always looking at people's faces, unfortunately. But yeah, he looked a
so
bit
like
fillery to me.
okay, let's say Janae from Love Island, I can
Hmm.
tell. Ellie
Hmm.
from Love Island UK, I can tell. Like when it's obvious, I can tell. Because
Yeah.
my friend texted me and was like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure Hannah got a nose job, a chin shave, lip fillers." I'm
Yes.
like, oh my god. I
Oh,
just thought she
she's
lost
definitely
weight. I
had
don't know.
surgery. No, no, she's
I have
definitely had
no
surgery in
idea.
addition to her weight loss. She looks like a completely different person. Just compare her to
Yeah.
Alex, who also lost a ton of weight, who still her face looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they asked Ramses if there's anything else that he'd want to get off his chest and all that. And Ramses says he wants to clarify the contraception conversation, that he did not try to force her into anything, that it was a long conversation and they ended up with something that worked for them. And again, could have been cut off. I was just surprised that Marissa didn't jump in to
Hmm.
back him up, like, oh, this is what it was, because she did come out with the whole statements like, no, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, but they might have cut it out. But Ramses handled it the best way he could. Yes, you're right, you're right, you're right. kept quiet, and like, are we done yet? Awesome, we're done. And that was
He
it. So
gave a
don't get me.
masterclass, Tayne, in how you handle a contentious reunion. I wanted to clap for him because he
Yeah.
skated.
Yep.
Can I say
So
though, I've seen a lot on social media, like people going, "Oh, Ramsey's dodged all the smoke instead of for Nick But I'm just like, what else was there to be said? Really and truly,
yeah, when
do you
someone
know what I
takes
mean?
accountability, honestly, there's nowhere else to go.
Exactly.
You're just repeating the same thing over and
Mhm.
over.
All the air is gone from your sails, and yeah, it just is what it is.
Yeah. Zach and Bliss are introduced, and Zach and Bliss on the internet seem to have climbed up as one of the top Love is Blind couples. And, they're the first Love is Blind couple to have a baby. I mean, we have a couple other, but they're the first to have a baby. And, I have to be honest, like, I was not rooting for this couple from the beginning. I was like, nobody should be second choice. Nope. Say no to this guy at the altar. Get your lick back. But, it seems to be working out for them. So I'm happy for them. But their daughter's name is Galileo.
Yeah.
And they asked why. And Zach is, Bliss said, I'm going to let Zach take this.
Mm.
So just a side story. On 90 Day Fiance, there's a couple. There's a guy who's from Cameroon, and he's married to an American lady. She's a white lady in over here, and they have a child. And he wanted to name his child after his best friend. His best friend, who when they went back to Cameroon, actually hates her and says she's a white woman. I don't know if she can fulfill this and be a good wife. And then he even came up with stories like because they had a one night stand in China when they were overseas, and she got pregnant and then the pandemic happened. And he's like, did you know that he had a girlfriend at the time? Like, why are you bringing that up? They have two children, they're married,
And
and
this
all
is
that
his
stuff.
best friend. Sounds like an op.
Yes.
Like what?
So, exactly. So when she's pregnant with their third child and they're talking about the naming, and he's like, I want to name him after the best friend. And then she's like, no. Like, what are you talking about? It
Hell
cannot be after
no.
the person. And she made a point. She says, if I carry the child, I should have the right to name the child. And I honestly
Hmm.
think that is fair. People underestimate what pregnancy is. I'm not saying the dad shouldn't have a say, but ultimately, if you reach like an impasse, you gotta give it to the person who's carrying this child and going through all of the hurt and the pain. So I
Ten,
don't know.
I
I
know a
said all
couple
that.
that divorced because of that, by the way.
Oh my
They don't
god.
even,
I
yeah. Like, yeah. That
when
was, it obviously led to other things, but that was what started, like, the downfall. Was the fact that they could not agree on the name. He wanted to name her child after his mother, who the same wasn't particularly nice to her either, and no one was budging. It became a huge thing, yeah, and they ended up divorced. Yeah.
Oh gosh. And another reason why men shouldn't name children is there's this like thing of videos where men are naming their daughters after their exes, which I just think is the
Yeah.
worst thing.
Sick,
Like,
sick.
like of all of the names all over in the
Hmm.
world, why would you choose to name it after an ex? Like, what are you trying to achieve? But anyways, I say all this because the way Bliss said, I'm gonna let Zach take this over, it feels like she gave in and was like,
Hmm.
fine, you can name the baby Galileo. And I'm just like, if you carry that child, girl, don't give in. You should name the child. But anyways, they play back their love story in the pods, the whole Leah and Womack, which before they even shared that, when he said Leah and Wombat, I think I forgot that he said that, and I was chuckling at that. And we find out that Leah and Womack actually sent them a stuffed wombat,
Yeah.
which I thought was really nice because, like Nick said, that's not easy to find. You can't just go in there. Do you have a wombat in there?
Maybe she
But I
was in
think,
Australia on tour.
but
You
I think Vanessa pointed out that it was, what did she say, hand stitched or something. I don't know. So it must have been personally
were,
made.
yeah,
But
you were
my
nicer. I was zoned out because I'm just like, why are we spending so much time on these people yet again? Showing us clips from the pods, all of it. I was like, wow, okay.
For me, I think I was just thinking like it's so crazy to think they had a whole story. Like that was the song for
Yeah.
her mom had for her. That was a song for that, and he still chose Irina. Yes, I know his insecurities made a part, but it's just like that was that. Okay, so we move on to Hannah and Nick. Nick already looks stressed. I don't know what he was expecting, but he already looks stressed. We get a whole thing about how she spoke to him and all Hannah has to say for the next 20 minutes. I'm just direct. I'm just direct and blonde. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Yes, I could have said it nicer, but I didn't. I'm just direct and blonde. She said everything I said was true, but I should have said it differently. He said he was confused by some of the things that she was saying, like they weren't on the same level intellectually, they were not in the same financially, that he's not financially literate. And Garrett said, all I'm going to say is that Nick showed a lot of patience that I wouldn't have had. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, Garrett is the only person who spoke up against that girl's bad behavior.
Yes. I'm sorry. See, when I said Hannah was a witch, people wanted to come for me. My thing is, Nick was even trying to be nice to her. And look how she did him. This is why it doesn't pay to be nice to witches. You have to give as good as you get. Because I couldn't believe my eyes. I actually could not believe what I was seeing, what I was hearing. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That is a beaten down man. But yeah, good on Garrett for sticking up for him. Oh, yeah.
She says she has a big personality and that she's self-aware. And there's nothing worse than someone who keeps telling you, I'm self-aware, and thinks that that's a band-aid to not get better, but just to let you know, I acknowledge I have a problem, but how long are we going to have this problem for? And why the hell do we have to deal with it? Like, this is so
Hmm.
annoying. You've had a year to deal with
Spent
all of
all
that.
that time and money looking after her outside appearance and did nothing clearly to work on the inside.
I mean, she said she did work on her inside, but I think
Could you see
everyone
it?
is now no, but I'm saying that I was about to say it wasn't just her, but I think everyone now is throwing I went to therapy. It's become a
Hmm.
buzzword because everyone thinks because I went to therapy, I got something out of it. Manipulators go to therapy and manipulate the therapist, and we don't know what you're telling the therapist,
Yeah.
especially if you're seeing it from your own point of view. So,
And some of
there's
these
that.
therapists suck as well. So how about that? Therapy means nothing in how good of a person you are. That literally hasn't. What has one thing got to do with the other? Please.
So, Vanessa asked her if she had anything to say to Nick. And she just kept saying, I'm just direct, I'm just direct. And there was no apology. Then after going round and round in circles, she finally says, like, I'm sorry that I was so cruel to you. And I was like, okay, finally, we finally got there. And this was a perfect time to bring up her brother saying the
Mm.
same thing, but they chose not to, so okay. So they ask her that she looks great, that she's done all this, and she kept saying like, yes, I spent a lot of time. I worked on my outside, worked on my inside, and I think I love the version. I think Vanessa asked her, "Do you love the version that you are?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think I do." And she's like, "Oh, you think you do?" And then of course she gets teary. I have nothing against tears. I just when it feels like it's manipulative, it's hard not to be, you know, give a
This
side eye.
was peak example of I'm gonna be nice, just a certain type of tears, and we all know to get what they want and to escape criticism. And it was so inauthentic. I was so unmoved, and a lot of them I feel were unmoved as well.
Yeah. So, sorry, I'm trying to see if I took notes on that. I think this is the point where they ask AD, and AD is like, "Oh, you look good, girl," and she said what she said, and she's direct and period. And I don't know, I didn't like that. Like, I think that would have been a point to say something. You can be politically correct and say it in a nice way, but it just really felt like she wasn't being called out. I need a good call out at a reunion. This is my
Hmm.
frustration. So it might not have been here, but at some point that happened. Um, Nick says that she's doing great and she's getting hate online. And no, Nick, sorry, not Nick Lachey. Nick,
Nick Dorker,
her victim.
Nicky
Oh,
D.
sorry. Okay, that's better. That's better, not her victim.
Nah, her
Nick,
victim, because they did some bullying up on that stage. But anyway.
Nick says that she's a great girl and she's getting all this hate online. Before he could even finish his PR talk, she's like, "So why are you liking the hate comments?" I'm like, Nick should have just sat there like Ramses and just, ate his pudding and not said anything because he could have skated away from there. And then she brings up her, what's it called? The bomb that she wanted to throw on there. That, when they broke up, that they were moving out and he had his notebook and she and her friends, who did not come off great on the season
Hmm.
anyways, took his notebook and they went through it. Because first of all, why are you going through someone's notebook? That's an
Thank you.
invasion of privacy. So why that wasn't brought up to you? Because the next thing should have been like, oh, you just saw his notebook and you went through it. Do you think that
Hmm.
was an invasion of his privacy? No, that was not done. And he wrote like 2 weeks before the pods, and he had 3 goals. He wants to sell 2 homes this year, which I was like, two, okay.
I know.
He wants to be in the best shape of his life, and he wants to be the most famous person from Love Is Blind. And they asked him about it, and this was not good at all.
Yeah,
He
the
yammers
excuse
something
was awful.
about his friend told him about 90-day goals, and they're like, just write anything. It doesn't excuse the fact that you could have been like, to find love. That was not on there. You instead were like, you want to be the most famous person from Love Is Blind. Not
This
looking
may
good.
be unpopular, but I feel like he wrote what they all felt going on that show. He was just honest about it in his private notebook that somebody read and made. Because you, Hannah, why did you quit your job to go on this show if it wasn't in the hopes of becoming famous after? I just feel like, why are we dancing around this? Most of the people on nowadays, they're on there for clout. They're hoping to like get some, I don't know, sponsorship, some Instagram hashtag ads going to sustain them, and you could most definitely make a living that way. And I feel like that's exactly what Hannah did. Because why did you quit your job to come on the show at 26? Were you that
I,
desperate for love? Please be for real. It was an easy pipeline to being an influencer, and the fact that it came from Hannah specifically is why I did not care what Nick was writing, because we could say the same for you. Like,
I,
they're
I
both
think
may
that's
not be
fair.
good people, but I just, yeah. And apparently, I don't know if you saw that she posted the page apparently on her Instagram, and she got so much like backlash for it that she took it down on on her stories.
She even posted it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know how
oh.
true that is because I didn't see it with my 2 eyes, but I've seen a lot of people say that.
It's so funny. Like, I've never mentioned it, but I have a 6 degrees of separation with Nick. Funny enough, he goes to my gym and he's friends with a trainer on there, but I've never met him. But it's just, I think it'll be interesting. I would like to see him to see what he actually looks like because there was a whole lot of talk of being a foot taller than him that I just want to see what his real height is gonna be.
Mm,
But I don't think we have the same timetable. But if I do, I will update you guys. But yes, this whole thing, she thought she was trying to get like heat, off of her, but at the same time, you invaded his privacy. And you're right about the whole getting famous thing. What are the odds she's gonna be a perfect match because she seems like a perfect candidate?
hmm. She's getting herself ready for it, please. It's so obvious. It's like, we're not stupid. We're not new to this. Come on. Oh.
So at this point, Ramses already looks like he doesn't want to be there. He's staring at the floor, staring at his feet, trying to hope like if I don't move, nobody will see
No one
me.
will see me.
So at this point, Hannah and Marissa are whispering to each other. I didn't take note or it didn't mean anything to me, but as the episode went on, there was a lot of whispering, and we
Hmm.
don't know what they're saying. They didn't even capture it on caption. Again, I'm spoiled by Bravo. Whenever there whispers during the reunion, oh, we get a subtitle at the bottom telling us what it is that they're saying. So
Yeah.
they have mics. So we should know what it is they're saying. So, like I said, Hannah and Marissa are
I
whispering to each
caught some
other.
of them, by the way. But yeah, I'll
Yeah.
speak on it when it comes up. But yeah.
And Hannah says Nick is a calculated person, and she had all the things that he's been saying about her, like being a grenade. but on camera he's so nice to her, and her frustration is that what is going on, like what is happening and all that. And Marissa backs her up. Hannah talks about, girls that he's DM'd, and he was trying to fly a girl out even to the reunion. And it's just
So,
crazy how they went deep on Nick, because Nick tried to say we're not together, but I think she started yelling again. And
hmm
Nick is
he
asking
could have brought
Steven like
7 women to the reunion. What does that have to do with you?
a
Like,
year
I don't
later
get it.
too. A
Yeah.
year later. Like we have to
You guys
remember that.
broke
It's
up
not
before
like,
the last 2 episodes. Like, please be for real. It's none of your
yeah.
business. She
So
set
at
out
this
to
point,
humiliate him even further. That's all.
yeah, Marissa is going on and on about people know that, I know that, I heard that, and then Steven's name came up because Monica came in, and then Nick Lachey asked Steven like, did this happen? And Steven is like, yes, it did. And then AD and Marshall are just going like really crazy with the eye bulges, and I'm like, ooh, he just said that. And I'm so bored by this point because I'm like, I don't care. Monica chimes in and says he was telling everyone on the plane when they were coming back from Mexico, like, hey, we're filming a TV show, which I can absolutely see Nick doing. I'm not gonna lie. And Monica's all like, oh, you can all speak now because everyone knows and they're not saying anything. And then they ask Garrett, and I'm with Garrett, and Garrett is like, I just can't wait for us to move past this. This is so childish. And this is my sentiment in a nutshell.
Yes. My
Like,
I have other things to say because who my thing is, I think they were all angry, or not they were all, or is Marissa and Hannah were, I don't know why Marissa appointed herself Hannah's handmaiden, but okay. Marissa and Hannah were so angry, and the others weren't really saying anything because Nick did say those things about Hannah. I think it was clear.
yeah,
But my thing is, so was she nice about
yeah,
his looks? She told everyone. My thing's the whole premise of the show is you're connecting with someone you've never seen. Obviously, you're going to have an opinion on the way they look. And he
yeah,
didn't say it to the camera. He thought he was speaking to his boys, who then
yeah.
shared it with their partners. So, yes, it's
Pillow
not nice
talk.
to hear, but I don't think it was as mean as what she did. It's not comparable.
Yeah. Because everyone wants to be all sanctimonious and righteous, but if we were all recorded when we're talking to
Hmm
our friends about people in our lives that we dated and stuff like that, we all know like that's kind of how it's going to be. But
hmm
I think maybe the difference is I'm not saying that she can't be annoyed because yes, if someone is saying all these nasty things about you, but on camera they're like, "Oh, she's great, she's this," and you're lying. But we all know her intent is to embarrass him.
Yep. And she said
So
way
don't
worse
try
on
to,
camera.
yeah,
She was swearing, even when, what's her name? Her best friend in the whole wide world said Nick was way better looking in person. She made sure to know, like, what?
yeah,
Really? Like, I'm so shocked. Like, be for real. Come on.
yeah. And it was just so weird. And where I thought it was childish was like, first of all, Marissa, you have things going on in your life than to take up for a 26-year-old. Like, I don't even think that seems to be a selfish person. And all of a
hmm
sudden, Marissa is Hannah's new best friend. I thought Katie
hmm
was her best friend. And then she even says, like, I'm not saying that Hannah wasn't mean. Like, I always say that. She's been a bitch to me. Monica's like, she's been a bitch to me also. And I'm like, do you hear yourselves, grown women?
Thank
Marissa,
you.
Monica, you are 37 and you're letting a 26-year-old be a bitch to you at this point. You don't recognize that this is a toxic relationship. This
hmm
was just this is kind of crazy.
And
Nick
Marissa did
says,
herself no favors because we were all on her side until she started piping up. And now I saw a flurry of comments. Oh, I understand why Ramsey said she was going to be too much. I see why. Is this what you want for yourself? Just because you couldn't face your front and decided to be too much involved in another couple's business? I did not understand why she was yelling at him, Tayne, yelling at Nick. I was just like, Marissa, is
yeah,
this you? Okay, cool.
it it was just unnecessary. I mean, she came out with a statement on Instagram and was like,
Which
I'm by no means. excluding Hannah from. She did call it what it is. She did say verbal abuse. That I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you want to tiptoe like, oh, that's too much or whatever. But honestly, what Hannah did was verbal abuse,
Yes,
and she
and
did
then
call it
double
that.
down on it at the reunion, Tayne. That's what I'm saying. Like, there are times when I feel like they should have stepped in because it turned into a bullying session. And I do think Nick was lying, but
Yeah,
it
of
did
course.
turn into a bullying session. And I don't know if you saw, Marissa put up 2 TikTok videos doubling down. And when the comments weren't on her side, she literally deleted them like 20 minutes later. But you know, TikTok, people save the video. They're like, oh, you think you can hide? Because the comments weren't what she was expecting. No one was siding with her at all. So, yeah.
It's the way they're not able to read the room. Like, in what world are you gonna think that this was? Oh, this is what I should do. And it's so
Hmm.
funny, like all the people who it's funny how Taylor and Garrett and Ashley and Tyler, they literally didn't say anything except
Hmm.
answer questions for the
As
whole
it should
entire
be.
thing.
Because why is it your business, Marissa? Why? Does Hannah need your help in sticking up for herself? No.
Exactly. And that's the thing for Hannah. Oh God.
Yeah.
So Nick asked, I mean, I think he was just looking for anything at this point. And Nick is like, so if I was so bad, why did she ask to be with me after? And Marissa starts yelling, I was fucking that guy. So I'm guessing they were still sleeping together afterwards. I'm like, that's not a good look. Okay.
It makes her
Marissa,
look terrible. And her
just didn't do
mom's
herself any
expression
favors.
was my expression. Did you see Marissa's mom's face? She was so
Yeah.
appalled.
Yeah. Like, even if you did, don't admit it on camera, girl. I raised you better.
Hmm.
And then Hannah whispers to her, like, oh, I just wanted to have sex with him one last time to make sure it wasn't that bad. I'm just.
Yeah.
They
Just
played the
very
clip of.
cruel.
Yeah,
Sorry. Because
they
have
played
you
the.
forgotten she also announced on the show, which is what I can never side with Hannah. That conversation she had with Monica about how terrible was it Monica? About how terrible
Ashley.
he was in bed. Oh, Ashley, sorry. How terrible he was in bed and how he didn't even go down on her. And I'm like, you know the cameras are filming you. What is the purpose of you having this conversation right now? She knew what she was doing. I would never be on her side. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. They played the clip of the fight that she had with Nick about talking to Katie. And then Katie gives her side and was like, I had no idea that she was upset. I didn't know it took that long. And yes, we were smiling and all that. And for Hannah to say, I don't trust Katie. And she asked if there was weight to the words that she said. And she's like, no, it's not. I was just upset. I love you. That we've been together for a year. Like, we've talked it out. We squashed it out. And I'm like, I guess these people just want toxic relationships with Hannah, so good for her. Like, these people are just encouraging this bad behavior as far as I'm concerned.
But did you see again? This is the part where the closed captioning didn't pick up. But Marissa's mom whispered to Katie,
Yeah,
"Is that
she
she's your
made you feel
friend?"
like
But
shit for a year.
exactly, that made me laugh because
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, Mama said all the right commentary." Hmm.
it took me 3 tries to figure out what she said. Because she said it, and I was like, I gotta know what she said. I have to
Hmm.
figure out whatever it is that she said. And she's like, she made me feel like shit for a year, which is a good point. Like,
Hmm.
Hannah is manipulative.
Very.
So it is what it is. And then the other thing was like while Marissa's mom was whispering, I peeped Taylor's parents behind them and I was just mad. Why did you fly these nice people here? But yeah, that was that and it just took too long and finally it was over and we were free. But I don't even know from the frying pan to the fire because next was Leo and Brittany and I'm gonna go through this as quickly as I could. They came out, they talked about Miami. Tim does this ode to Leo. He's misunderstood, but he's great. And he's a high minded thinking guy. And I'm like, what? What is happening? Like, how could he? But
Tim,
then it
I
was like,
see what you are.
what?
Sorry, every time. Okay, when he said high-minded individual, already my antenna started going up with him because yeah, but I'm just like he respects Leo because he thinks he's a high-value man. That's what I was thinking in my head because Leo's rich.
Ah,
Like honestly, that's what
oh,
I was
I
getting.
hope that's not the case because
Mm.
what he now led to was like he had bars. And I was like, do you mean gold bars? But then they meant that he could rap. And I'm like, what? Okay, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. And once again, for a man that's so rich, his outfit left a lot to be desired, and he didn't have the right fit. But maybe that's just me.
I don't even notice what he wore. I was distracted by Britney's new tits. I was
Were
just
they
like,
new?
ooh, they looked a lot bigger than on the show. Because on the show, she clearly had a boob job, but they looked a lot bigger than they were on the show. So I don't know if she went for round two, but they looked fresh. That's all I'm saying. I was like, girl, you should have let them settle something or wore a different dress because it looked uncomfortable to me. But yeah.
They were sitting.
Mm,
Um, Leo was going to give. Okay, I do think his apology was heartfelt to both women, but it took him
yeah.
a while to get there, and he compared them to pasta and steak. And while he was talking about the steak, Steven just chimed in from this guy is so awkward. And he's just like, oh, I don't mind being associated with meat. I'm like, God, make it
Oh,
stop. Can we
yeah.
get better caliber people on this
Just
show? And they were
awful.
like, oh, they were like, calm down, Steven. We're gonna get to you. He's like, yep, okay, we're there. I'm like,
I
gosh.
would say Leo came across better, which is what, again, I think a reunion should be if you're smart. If you've been given not the best edit on the show, your main thing, like at the reunion, should be to redeem yourself. If Hannah had literally shut up after Nick said, oh, everyone stopped giving her so much hate, blah, 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 she would have skated scot free and everyone would have backed off her. But no, she had to double down. Same with Tim. I just feel like some people. Ramsey's played the game right. Leo played the game right. You come, you apologize. You don't add too much. Simple.
Yeah, I think the plus side also is like I really do think Leo's apology was heartfelt. Because there's one thing when you
Yes.
do the apology, but it comes off as you're just saying the
Hmm.
right things. But I do think his apology was heartfelt.
I agree.
Brittany said she's not surprised that they didn't make it to Mexico because they were the weakest link, and AD's like she's real for that. Or was it Marshall? One of them said that. She said they had a great time, but they weren't compatible, but they're best friends now. And when you travel with someone, that's when you really find out things. And Vanessa's like what? She's like, for example, he always take a sip of my drinks, even if we have the same thing. I'm like, that was your disqualifier?
It's because
Whatever,
you never
girl.
liked them to begin with. When you don't like someone to begin with, the most innocuous things feel like the end of the world. So I really understood her.
I think she tried to lie to us by saying that she wasn't uncomfortable at the reveal and that she was
Yeah.
actually leaning into him for comfort and that it was
Yeah.
comforting and she wished and I was like, girl, we watched it. That it's
And then
because you're
once she
friends
was
now.
talking, everyone on stage had that same look like, girl, be for real. No one believed her.
Yeah. And apparently they talk all the time for an hour, for days and all of that. So I don't know. I don't know how much is true, but they made their peace. I think the thing with also going back to Marissa and her statement, she said like, oh, I think she said something like people were saying she didn't go that hard on Ramses, and she was like, we talked about it, we already squashed it, it's been a year, so we're good. And I feel like if you've talked about stuff and you're fine, I can understand people being irate when you come back and then you start acting like it's fresh beef
Hmm.
all over again because I think they
Yeah.
had a video out today or something where Nick is like plot twist we're besties and it's him and Marissa and I'm like what are you guys doing? You want to get a
Yeah.
Nick for trying to be famous but you guys are also playing a game maybe in a different way but they can feel the 15 minutes TikToking
All of
so they're
them.
doing
That's what I'm
everything that they
saying.
can.
The whole thing about Nick, it applies to each and every single one of them. You do not go on a show like that without thinking, oh, even if I don't find love, I'm going to be famous. We're not
Yeah.
stupid. Come on.
Yeah. They move on to Stephen and Monica. During the boring jokes about his sleep study, his sleep test, and all that, Nancy just randomly yells out, Stephen, what was in the text? I'm like, okay. And he said, I don't know. I deleted them. And then he says he wants
Mm.
to respect the individual involved. And Monica is like, oh, but you couldn't respect me. Then maybe you shouldn't have done it on reality TV. And he's like, okay, that's true. He said they talked about it and went on a like they've already talked about it, like Steven and Monica, and they went on a date 2 weeks after they broke up, and Monica's like, it wasn't a date. And I think he absolutely said that to be like, guys, she's saying oh she's doing all of this, but we still hung out after this was done. And I think that's always frustrating to never like I'm not standing up for the men or anything, but I think that's the viewpoint they're coming from is like they're done because she did come in talking like she was bragging about it at the flapper party where she's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, we talked for 2 hours, we did this," and to the point where someone was like, "Are you getting back together?" So I
Mhm.
think he wanted to make a point that we're good. So I don't know where all this vim is coming from
This is
with
what I
this.
hated about the reunion. I did way too much defending of men in my head, and it makes me feel icky when I'm just like, don't make me take these men's side. Please don't. But some
I
of
would
them were doing
never.
entirely too much. I'm sorry.
Uh, Steven is just cringe. I'm never taking that man's side. Like something's just
He's
off about that
awful.
guy.
No, he's
It's just
awful.
off.
But I also feel like, Monica, who were you fooling? Why did you ever match up with this man? I've never seen two more mismatched people in my whole life. And it was oozing from her throughout the whole thing. So he's terrible, but she should also have never picked him. Sorry.
Yeah. He mentions that he wrote a letter to her parents to apologize, and Monica was like, "I knew you were gonna say that. The minute I saw that letter, I knew you was doing it for the reunion, so you could mention that you did this." I don't think she's wrong.
Me
Absolutely don't think
too.
she's wrong. And then Steven starts a sub story of like, no one wants to believe me. No one cares about my side. So why should I share my side of the story? He said if they did then if they squashed it then they wouldn't be here a year ago talking about something that was already being squashed. That he apparently spoke no, Vanessa is now like he apparently spoke about cheating and Monica seemed to be fine about it. I completely do not remember this. And she was like, "No, I give
No,
him
do you
kudos."
remember he said he cheated before? And then he was like,
No,
oh,
no,
it
no.
was emotional cheating.
No, no, no. I'm not saying he didn't. I said I completely forgot.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Until they mentioned it, and I'm like, oh yeah, somewhere. Like, I just feel
Hmm.
like the pods are such a distant memory for me. And then, she says, yeah, that I gave him kudos and I was fine about it because she's dated men who've cheated all the time, and they never came forward to admit that they cheated. So she just appreciated that he came forward and admitted that it was something that he had done, and wanting to move on from it. And I'm like, the bar is on the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. Monica needs to do some work, I think, before she's ready to get married. I say that in the nicest of ways. And I say it because I recognize, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but that cannot be like something you think, oh, it's okay, I can work with that. Like, please be like, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah. They ask again, like, have you spoken to the girl that you were sexting with? And then this whole thing. I've never met her, but it was on Instagram. But Monica's like, it was a long text thread, but we've known each other for years. But she just said she had a heart thing. Then it led to fetishes. I'm like, oh my God. And he was talking, and mid talk, I promise you, they literally cut him off. I know it's the edit. And they was like, I'm moving on to Tim and Alex. And I'm like, what?
But by Blake
And
Griffin.
that was it. They did not ask this man about his heritage. They did not ask him and her about calling her a mutt. They did not ask about the Venmo. And I'm like, you know what? I can't complain anymore about this reunion. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I think that would have been more interesting. Because my
You know the
question about the
Venmo was for $400.
Yeah, I know. But my question about the Venmo was she was apparently holding them down because he didn't have money and all that stuff. So how come immediately she requested for the Venmo, he suddenly had the money? That's where my question was. It's like, how did you? Because Venmo, you can't use a credit card or anything. You actually have to have the
Mm,
cash from your
yeah.
account. So that's what I wanted to know. But off outside of this show, Monica does have a new man. He was in the audience. She posted him on her story, but put a heart over his face. But we can
Uh,
locate where he was on the roll. All you have to do is go back to the show and see where he is. So I don't know. All these things. Doing too
why did they
much.
not ask her about it? Like, if she's dating someone else, all of that. Why do we care who AD's dating? You should have asked Monica who she's dating now. Called her out. Because if you didn't want him to be seen, why did you bring him to the reunion? So I really hate it when people cover their partner's faces on social media. So it's a pet peeve of mine. I'm just like, just don't show them, or just show their hand or whatever. When people literally cover their faces, I'm just like, oh, this is too much.
And
Sorry.
don't show their hand. I don't get it. If you don't want your person on there, it's real. Even if it's
Yeah.
not on the gram, it's still real. And you don't have to show anything. It's either you show or you don't show. I hate a soft launch. Ugh.
Do it with your
So we finally,
chest.
yes, a hairy chest too. Do
Yeah.
it. So we move on to the final couple, which is Tim and Alex. And I think I chuckled when Vanessa was like, I see you cut the hair off. You know, they say when something happens, a woman cuts her hair off. And I'm like, oh, might be extensions, ma'am. I see you're not versed in black hair, ma'am. But
Um,
Alex played along and she's like, yeah, you do. So they talk about the verbal disagreement, and she explained that what it was right before she came on the show. Her dad was admitted into rehab, and not being able to talk to them for 3 weeks was hard. And all she wanted to do was shower, go to bed, shower, go to bed. And at this point, I'm like, maybe you should have left the show. I
mhm.
think if it was that much of an effect on you, because you can't put a price on like a loved one's health. I can totally understand being cut off from the world like for 3 weeks and not knowing
Mhm.
what's going on with your dad, how bad it is, how good it is. And if it was that much, because on the flip side of it, far be it that I'm defending Tim, he's also here with a partner. You don't know
Yeah.
each other. You're learning each other. He has no idea of all this backstory. Apparently, communication is hard, and she's not saying it. It's not fair to jip him of that time when your mind is somewhere else, as it should be on your father or your loved one who is
Mhm.
ill. But I just don't understand why these two people. I mean, we know why they're incompatible. Just open your mouth and say that, because Tim kept saying she just didn't say that.
My
You were
thing
feeling
is,
bad.
she could be one of those people that it takes time to open up to people. That's the thing. I feel like Love is Blind is the kind of show where theoretically you could be like, oh, I would do this, I would do that, but you never know till you're in it, right? And I agree with you. I think Alex probably should have gone home, but maybe just to look at the other side, you've gone through this whole audition process, made it all the way to Mexico, and maybe her family were like, there's not really anything you can do here, you might as well go and do something for yourself. That's just what I'm thinking, but who knows. But I'm with you, because then you're kind of already half in half out, right?
So you're telling me the whole time in the pods, this man told you a lot about his loss and everything in his family you did not mention, because it looked like Tim had no idea about this. You did not mention that 3 weeks
Yeah.
before I came
Did she
here,
have a
my dad has
chance? All he spoke
um
about were his sisters.
I
No, let me
don't,
be
but
nice,
that's what
let me
I'm
be nice,
saying.
let me be
If they're
nice.
gonna pick up about all, if they're gonna talk about all the things and you are comfortable choosing him, I'm just I don't know. It's both of them's part. They're both wrong because their
Yeah.
communication styles are not the same. And again,
Mhm.
I get if you're a guarded person, takes you a lot to warm, stay in your house or anything. But when you're actually like, you know what, I'm gonna give my all to this. This is what happens when you come out of it. But when you come here, like I'm just guarded, I don't trust you, you're still a stranger. Get the fuck out of here. I don't. It just really irritates me. I say this about MAFS also. Like, don't come on this show
No,
for
I'm with
that.
you. Those two, I just feel like they saw each other, and I think Tim was attracted to her, but she wasn't attracted to him. And then Tim, once he started speaking, to realize he didn't like her as a person. Like, that wasn't the kind of personality he was looking for in a wife. And it bled through in all his interactions with her. They're just, like you said, incompatible. They should have not made it to Mexico.
So Tim says that they were going back and forth. At this point, it had become contentious. They were in the hotel bathroom, and the producers had to knock on it, and she was trying to get in. Tim said he didn't want the image of like a 225-pound, 6 foot black man squabbling on camera. That you know what that looks like, and he didn't want that whole back and forth. Someone was whispering at this point. I can't remember who it was, and because I just have a note that says they need to do a better job of catching the whispers because I don't know what
I
anyone
think
was
it was
saying.
I'm trying to remember who was sitting next to her, Brittany.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Alex says that she didn't assault him and she just wanted it to de-escalate. He says, I reject you saying that, I yelled at you. And then they talk about, I just didn't like that you called me out my name. And they were like, what is it that she said? She's like, he was acting like one, so I called him a little ass bitch, which is her doubling down. This
Yeah.
time, the cameras are on. So this is to everybody. And that was the devolvement of everything because Tim, you don't do that to Tim.
My thing is
Tim
though,
was activated.
what production apparently came in because he was yelling so loudly.
Yes.
Because how would they
And
have known to come in if he wasn't loud enough for them to hear? Which is apparently why she put her hand over his mouth, right? Because he wouldn't let her
yes,
talk as he was doing on stage right then.
I think it's a perspective thing. Tim
Mm-hmm.
does talk passionately, like he's talking down at you, and
Mm,
like he's like your principal and you did something wrong. And to him, he thinks I'm just talking passionately. So he doesn't
mm,
realize that his tone and how it sounds comes off as yelling. So it's a
mm,
perspective, type of thing. So Tim at this point to me seems like the kind of he said something about you women and then he stopped and I'm like Tim seems like the kind of guy who's gonna be on a podcast and start in a
mm-hmm,
rant and be like y'all females always talk about you want a man that
mm-hmm.
something 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 but when you get it you guys and I'm like
But when a high
that
value
is
man like me is interested in, so that was the minute I turned off Tim. Because I think we spoke about it before, right? Like we didn't necessarily feel like he was wrong. He was a bit cruel in the way he broke up with her because it's like he wanted to
yeah
embarrass her.
yeah
That I thought was very fucking weird. And once he said that, everything clicked. I'm like, this is why I could never warm to him. He's giving me that vibe. We all know the type of man you're talking about. And that is
yeah
exactly who Tim is. This is also why he kept saying things like he's aware of what it looks like as a 200 or whatever, 6 foot of a man. That victim complex. Because remember, I told you he posted on his Instagram, like, oh, a few weeks ago when people they were talking about him, and he's like, I will be respected as a man. No, it's like someone calling you boy. Da, da, da. And I'm like, I know your type. I just, yeah, not compatible whatsoever. He wants someone who's going to be his wife first and foremost and
yeah
cater to him. He is number one, the head of the household, and you will know
yeah
your place.
exactly. At some point, she does say she protected him the entire relationship, which is why he looks amazing on the show. And again, expected the host to be like, what do you mean you protected him? But no, we
Hmm.
did not get that. Tim says the engagement ended because he feels like he wasn't getting any respect.
Mm,
And respect is very important to Tim, But the problem is, what is your definition of respect? You
yeah,
might not say hi lovingly enough to him, and he'd be like, well, you weren't respecting me. You said it like
mm,
you would say it to a friend, not your fiance. So,
yeah.
the
And
goalpost keeps moving.
I like that Alex explained because remember I told you it was bothering me how she acted with his parents. And she explained that she'd been with them the whole day and she had a second
Mm-hmm.
job that she wanted to take a nap before she went
Mm-hmm.
to. I'm like, okay, yeah, so a nap is not that bad if you've been with them since 11 a.m. I don't think it's the end of
Yeah.
the world.
Did Tim mention that he had no idea that she
Yeah,
went
that's what,
something about she went to
yeah.
the, I'm like their communication styles are just bad.
They didn't like each
Just
other.
bad
I think
today.
Tim had no intention of marrying her, by the way, which is
After the
why,
fight.
yeah. Which is why it is really weird that he did that whole thing with her dad, all of that. He was never going to marry her. Very, very, very odd. Why did you stay on the show?
Yep. Um, she did mention they went to dinner at Mi Vida, which is a nice restaurant. Their food is yummy on the wharf. So if you're in the
Mm,
DC area, I've never been. Yum. Um, apparently he told her that he had doubts after meeting her parents. So like you said, very weird. And then they broke up
mm,
2 days later, a day later, it keeps changing. I'm not
yeah.
sure which one it is. She felt like he wanted an out and he just took it. She's not wrong. And he was just pissed off. Like he was like those cartoons when they're so mad and there's steam coming out their ears. I think that's what it is. Because he's like, I'm just feeling very attacked right now. And I'm like, all right, dude, simmer down. It's not that
Yeah.
bad. It
It's
happened a
okay.
long
I
time
know
ago.
3 weeks he's gonna launch Fire Up the Podcast mic. Oh, we're gonna get some episodes. Probably with his
So,
fraternity brothers.
yep. So honestly, that really was it, except that they decided to go back to season one and introduce us to Jessica, and Vanessa had the audacity to say that she was one of our favorites. She was literally the villain of season one.
Not even good. Do you know how many people? Because I watched it like not that long after. So many people online were like, "Who? Who's Jessica?" And I said, "Damn, even I remember Jessica." And everyone was literally like, "Oh, you know, the lady who was feeding her dog wine." People are like, "Oh, kinda. I remember her." I'm like, "Whose favorite? Come on."
That's crazy. That was a stretch in the
They
reach.
should have said wedding, their child. We don't care. Her husband wasn't
It
even
was
on the show.
so awkward trying to make a kid say hi, and then Nick and Vanessa go over there. Oh, hello, hi. I was like, we don't. Okay, fine. They give us updates, I guess, on all the rest of the couples. Nancy said she moved to New York. She moved for herself. It wasn't for a job or a man or anything. And that's how she met her partner. Marshall said he relocated to LA and he's single. That is the tea we need because after parading his girlfriend, Shay, I think her name is,
Hmm.
everywhere and up and down, what the hell happened? What did you
Wasn't
do?
it even his fiance? It wasn't even just his girlfriend. Weren't they engaged?
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
were engaged. Yes. So that's the tea that I want. They finally get to Taylor's parents because I'm like, finally, can we get some stuff? And her mom is all choked up. She says she just choked up to see their love story. And her dad makes a funny, an actual dad joke that's funny. And was like, thank you, Netflix, because all the money I was saving for the wedding, I saved a lot of money and I don't have to pay for a wedding anymore. And I'm like, that was funny.
Damn
Good for
right.
you, dad. Hope you treat yourself to something. So they ask one question that I was interested in, where are they living? And they are in Fredericksburg. And he said they tried the whole San Diego thing and living abroad, but he couldn't go through with it, whatever the hell that means. And she's
He
like,
said he missed his family too much, right?
yeah, yeah. And again, I recognize I've said this a lot on the pod. Like I recognize that I'm different. Like I came to this country when I was young and I came on my own, so it's completely different. But I think staying a few months just for her, and she mentioned why she wanted it in San Diego. Now, her saying, fine, we're gonna meet in the middle, we're gonna live in DC, and home is wherever Garrett is, which is fine. I mean, it is a compromise. But in my mind, I'm like, is she giving up something? Because what if she also has the same reason that I miss my parents? She was ready to move to San Diego because she was tired of being away from her parents. So
Hmm.
why does he get to be the one?
No, I am with you. And I think it's a big mistake because I feel like they should live as far away from his mother as possible, at least for the first 2, 3 years. And then maybe come back once they're really solid. Because that woman, yeah, it just does not seem like a good idea to me. But hey.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not even thinking about his mom because in my mind, she's a non-factor. I'm just thinking about Taylor and hoping that it's not going to be a resentment kind of thing. Because it's
Yeah.
one thing if she's just sitting there. Yeah, maybe it's fair that when you got on the show, it was under the assumption this is why we do same city
Hmm.
matchmaking or whatever. But she was really ready to go to San Diego, and I just don't understand why he gets to be the one to say, I can't do it, it's too hard.
Yeah.
To live away from home. So hopefully it's not a thing for them, but that was just my concern about that. So they ask what's next for them because Vanessa is not going to ask what babies in the future. And they're like just being open. They always want to know the answers to everything, but the minute they just let go, everything works out. So that's what they are working on. And then Vanessa announces that 2025 will mark the 5-year anniversary of Love is Blind on Valentine's Day, and season 8 will be premiering in Minneapolis. And this is where we see the underwhelming cast of 3 uh, for next season. And then Jessica gives them advice like, the best thing you can do is just be you and be. And I'm like, hasn't it been shot already? What? Like, what? Okay, guys.
Probably shot a
Stop
year ago.
insulting our intelligence, guys. We know these things. So,
Hmm.
and that was it. They all get to toast, and then they get Leo to do the toast. Underwhelming too, but that was it. I don't know
I
if you
was
have
so
anything
happy
else.
to see the back of them. I'm so sorry. I was like, finally. You people didn't ask anything we wanted to know. Wasted an hour and a half of our time. But yeah, it's given us a lot to talk about though. So I'll forever appreciate
Yes.
them for that. But yeah, not my
Yep. I
favorite
mean,
Love is Blind season, cast wise. I mean,
what is your favorite Love is Blind season?
hmm. It's so funny because I could tell you ones I didn't like. Well, the ones I did, I actually think I liked Seattle. I know a lot of people didn't, but I actually did like Seattle a lot. I didn't like Dallas. I thought that was an awful season. Didn't That was another cast that I don't think I liked anybody on that cast.
What? You
Seattle,
didn't like
Atlanta,
SK?
please. Yeah, Seattle, Atlanta. I'm trying to remember what the other cities were. Chicago, they weren't particularly likable, I'll be honest. The women were cool, but the men weren't. Um, what other cities have they had? Houston, no. What other cities have they had? I think that's it,
I
right?
think you've mentioned, yeah, you think you've
Yeah,
mentioned
so
all of them.
Atlanta and Seattle then. Yeah, I guess are my two favorite. What are yours?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of cheated. I asked you so you could jug my memory because I went
Oh.
blank, but I think I agree with you. I think
Hmm.
Seattle had the perfect balance of
Yes.
the love and the drama and all that
Yes.
good stuff. And God damn it, we all
And
can't believe
don't
Kwame
they have
and
the
his bride
highest?
are still together.
Yeah. Don't they have the highest number of married couples? Because they had three people get
Uh,
married, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah. And they're all still together
yes.
and seem very happy. So
Yep. And Atlanta has 2. Yeah,
yes. 2. Hmm.
yeah. So it was good. Well, you know, the end of an era, season 7 down in the books. Nana, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Really appreciate it. And for those of you who may have missed it or don't know, Nana and I have a podcast called The Rewatch Sex in the City, where we watched all 6 seasons of Sex in the City TV show. And we watched the first movie one day. Maybe we'll get to the second movie. We're not sure. And also the first 2 seasons of And Just Like That. And whenever the third season comes back, we'll be back out on the streets, so you can check it out anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always, friend, always. All right, guys. Till next time. Bye.